Hi, my name is Stefan Kroshin, and I'm about to do the Mount Greylock hill climb on September 10th, 2022. I'm starting a warm-up 6 miles from the town of Northampton, where the race will start. We slept in the town of Williamstown in a motel there, and I'm using this time to warm up the legs a little bit for the race. I signed up about 2 weeks ago, and it's all Larry Wilson's fault. He put the idea in my mind several years back, and it's one of those iconic climbs in New England, and I've often thought that it'd be a nice thing to do, or at least to cross off the list. And about 2 weeks ago, Larry pointed out that this time trial was taking place, and I thought, I've never done a time trial, but it's a chance to cross that climb off, so we'll give it a shot. The plan was to do it with John Havlicek. Unfortunately, he got COVID and had to back out so best wishes to John. The Mount Greylock climb is about 2,800 feet of climbing over 9 miles. And I'm here pulling into the start area where the race will kick off. My wife Sarah is there in the Jeep, and she's volunteered to schlep gear for the riders up to the top. This is a really nice thing because while we'll be getting pretty warm climbing the hill, when we get to the top and come down the other side, it can get very cold. I'm told that in years past, riders have come down and been hypothermic. So it turns out for us that we get a pretty nice day and probably no concerns on that front, but it was still nice to have the fleece on the way down. Here I am, just kind of tooling around before the race starts. I try to keep the legs a little warm. And the excitement is building. This is a photo taken of me just prior to the start of the race. We're approaching my start time of 9:17, and the few folks in front of me didn't arrive, so there's about a 2-minute gap between me and the next rider. I've got some butterflies in my stomach for sure as we're about to head off, and I'm fumbling with my devices trying to get everything in ship shape just seconds before. And the climb has begun. The pavement here at the start is, as you can see, a little bit rough until we get into the park. And I've never been up this route before, so I really don't know what to expect beyond what research I've been able to do online. From the online research, I have a sense of where the grades are going to get steep, but I don't know, I don't have a sense of these turns or exactly where I'm going. But luckily this course marshals around, and it's really not too complicated. At the beginning here, I'm trying to think about how I should go. I'm trying not to blow up too quickly. That's a classic mistake people make. My power, last time I tested it was back in February, and I had around just under a 250 FTP, which is the amount of watts that I can put out for an hour. So 250 watts going up a hill for me just feels so slow that what I had in my mind was I'll try to keep around the 300 mark and, see how that feels. And if I have more energy toward the end to crank it up, maybe in the last third. And the climb just kind of settles in. Mind is active. I've got some aggressive music playing to keep me energized. And early on I caught up with a girl who turned around. I don't know if she was in the race or decided to give up or what the deal was. And a few people passed me, and then and some of which I captured, past a few people as well. So that rider interaction kind of kept things kind of interesting. And then the scenery itself varied, which made it interesting. Unfortunately, I don't have video towards the top that GoPro cut out, but it does in the top third kind of open up a little bit and you get some nice views. Some people were asking me about how I fueled up for the ride, and what I did was I felt a little dehydrated in the morning, so I drank some water. Had another bottle of water just before heading out. I'd planned to have oatmeal, but we didn't bring a spoon, so stopped into Dunkin' Donuts, had avocado toast and a bagel with cream cheese, and a large coffee with cream. I brought one of those hammer gels to over-caffeinate myself, but I didn't end up using it. Next time I won't do it. It's only an hour long, so while it's a very intense hour, fueling wasn't an issue. I'd say for me, hydration is always the issue because I do go through a lot of water, and I only brought one large water bottle on this. Some people go without any. I drank that bottle. I tried to space it out. It was definitely gone before the end of the ride. And I would do it the same way again. Even though I would have liked to have a little bit more water, I don't think I would take on the weight of that second bottle, so it's all good. There's a bathroom near the start, so you took advantage of that a couple times. As far as my overall fitness going into this thing, I've been riding a bit more this year than usual. I've got about 1,700 miles in per Strava. Usually I do just under 2,000 for the year, so I'm a few hundred miles ahead of pace. And I'm starting to set a few PRs again, so I'm a little bit faster than I was at my peak in 2019, just before a crash I took. And then, of course, there's COVID after that, which I think impacted a little bit too. So the idea came about like maybe 2 weeks prior when Larry Wilson pointed out this hill climb. Unfortunately, he couldn't join me because he is busy producing the U.S. Open. I got to watch the women's final when I finished the race, so thank you, Larry. And hopefully we'll get to do this later on this year again. Just for fun. It's a no draft time trial, so while there were points at which I could have, I don't know if I would have wanted to hang with people anyway though, because everybody's kind of riding at their own pace, and it's not like that many people, and I'm not sure how much the drafting would matter on a steep course like this. But yeah, no drafting. I also had Strava in my ear, so as I was approaching these different segments, I was hearing that, and also getting a sense of my time as I went up. I didn't really remember enough about the course to judge too much, but the names of the segments were helpful. I was, first mile, second mile, the toughest 5K. Those kind of give you some clues as to where you, what you're facing. As far as that goes, this is what I was facing. I'd seen this profile a couple of times before going, so little pieces of it were in my mind, not all of it, but it's an overall 6% average gradient, and you can see that that first quarter mile is one of the steepest sections as you head in towards the park. It levels off a little bit, you get a little bit of a reprieve, and then you're into the next big steep section. And then, as you approach mile 4, it levels off just a tad, and then kicks up to that 9% grade at, I think, the 5-mile mark. After that, it moderates somewhat as you get into that top third or 3/4, and then kicks up again at the summit. suffering. This is what it looks like on the other side of the finish line. My GoPro was dead, so this is actually a lap afterwards. But it's just beautiful up here. Everybody's kind of relaxing after the ride and reminiscing about it, drinking cider, eating cider donuts, and having peaches. Kind of in a mental fog at this stage, but I got talked into posing with the bike, and Sarah was up at the top as well. And we walked around the summit there a little bit, and this is one of the vantage points. and people hiking up the other side. So we've done that in many years ago. So here I am afterwards, coming down off the mountain. The plan is to go to the Freight Yard pub for lunch, and I've got my ESPN fleece jersey on to stay warm on the descent. And this car is in front of me, and I'm thinking, man, do I just let it get ahead for a while? Do I really want to chase this thing down the whole way? I'm kind of two minds about it. So I think I just eased off a little bit and gave it a little bit of space. The view started to open up, and it was really quite beautiful. Here is where a critical error is made. I'm sure there's someone to blame.
Go for it.
Turns out that if you want to go down the north side, you should take a right here. So maybe keep that in mind if you ever do this climb. Instead, I take a left, and there are two approaches to Greylock. There is the north approach, which is the steeper one, which is what I had just done. And there is a south approach as well, which is less steep, but still quite steep. And I'm going to get to experience some of that climb. Wasn't planned, but hey, that's what happens. And I did get to experience some of the south side descent, which is also quite amazing. as I'm headed down, I'm turning over in my mind whether I recognize this part of the hill, and I just become more and more doubtful that this is the road that I had climbed. And so at a certain point, several miles down, I decide to stop and just verify that I am in fact on the right trail. And of course, I'm not. So here I am, climbing Greylock for the second time today, and headed back up, and the legs are initially balking, but as I get into it, they come back alive, and honestly, I wouldn't mind doing it again, both sides of the mountain. This next time maybe make it all the way down the south side, and I think that would be kind of interesting. I did meet a few people going back up. None of them were brave enough to admit that they were also part of the race and had also made the wrong descent. Some of them had even some pretty good backstories explaining how they were legitimately just climbing the south side today and had nothing to do with the race.
Not a great place to take a wrong turn.
This guy pretended he had no idea what I was talking about.
Enjoy.
Good man.
Thanks.
As I was headed up the south side, one guy blew past me at one point, and for me just to catch up to him like maybe a quarter mile later as he waited at a turn, he had some crazy story about waiting for his wife. Which could be true, because I did pass someone who could have been his wife on the way up prior, so we'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that one.
Let's try this again.
So yeah, those orange barriers are significant, and here we are going down the actual north side. It's a bit unfortunate that my GoPro battery didn't last during the descent, because while I capture the top part of the descent, it gets really hectic towards the bottom. A lot of nice hairpin turns, gets pretty steep. You'll remember that the steep sections were skewed towards the bottom. And I eventually catch up to a bike that's in front of a car. I'm behind the car, and then there's a motorbike behind. And I don't think I have any of that on video, but it was pretty memorable and really fast. And with the switchbacks and not being super familiar with the course, you know, quite a pretty conservative, didn't want to get caught in the wrong lane with the car coming the other way. So would love to do it again. It was a blast. This is pretty much the end of the live footage. Congratulations. Here's a shot of me arriving back at the pub. And to really liven things up, we can take a look at some of the post-race stats. I believe there were about 130 participants. I came in 73rd. I came in 5th out of 6th in my age category of 45 to 49. Doing this climb in under an hour, I think, is one of those benchmarks that I didn't achieve the first time out, but maybe I could in the future. Something to look forward to. Cracking the top 3, I think, would be pretty much impossible for me. I can't imagine going up there in 47 minutes. Just seems crazy. I had an average heart rate of 162 and a top of 172. I feel pretty uncomfortable above 170, so I think that's about right for me, but it would be kind of interesting to talk to somebody who knows about these things. Here's the power graph. Would be interesting to talk to somebody who knows how to interpret this better. I think probably that I spent 24% at the VO2 max is a good thing. And I was also happy that I started segments and ended segments in roughly the same range. And also happy that Strava says that I did it at 105% of intensity, which means that it's above my FTP, which means that I was putting in a full effort, and also that my FTP is probably improved from where it had been previously. Had a great time at Greylock. I'm hoping to do it again next year. Maybe I've talked some of you into attending. Maybe I've talked some of you out. If you do go, would love to say hi next time.